Alright, this is going to be the first of your abs videos. I'm going to split the abs stuff up into a few different videos because there's so many of them. And this is going to be kind of like what I would consider maybe like beginner level ab stuff. And if this dog could just move a little bit. And he's probably going to lie on top of me because I'm about to lie down. Pretty much all the moves that I'm going to show you in this one are going to be on your back and really emphasizing that posterior pelvic tilt, which is why I chose to put these first, because that's kind of like a basic skill that you should be mastering before you move on to more advanced stuff, is how to posterior pelvic tilt. Bro, this dog is digging. I don't know why he just started doing this. Get your butt out of the way. So the first one I'm going to show you is called a dead bug. Bruh. Let's see. So you're going to get on your back. You're going to get on your back like this with your knees up. God dang it. With your knees up and your arms up like this, and this is the starting position. And right now, pretty much the only thing that's touching the ground is from my shoulder blades to like my hip girdle, like the top of my hips, like my tailbone is lifted up off the ground right now. Shut up. And what you're going to do here is, for a conventional dead bug, you're going to do contralateral, which means you're going to do opposite hand and leg. So I'm going to go right leg out and left hand out. So you're going to extend your leg and extend your arm while keeping that tilt. And you're going to go as far as you can, maintaining that tilt. So I mean, I can touch my leg all the way to the ground. You can't see it, but my heel and my calf is in the ground right now. My arm would be touching the ground, but I've got a freaking poodle head under it. Anyways, look at my ear. So, but you may be only able to go, just this far before you start to feel this rise up. So that's the range of motion you're going to work with. That's how you're going to know that that's your end range of motion, essentially, is when you start to lose that posterior tilt. Okay, go as far as you can, and over time, ideally, you will be able to build more range of motion as your abs and your core get used to that stretching, because that's probably what you're going to feel when you do this. Is you're going to feel a pretty intense like stretching, like your abs are just like coming apart, which makes sense because if you're punched over all the time, look what's happening to your abs. So this is forcing them to contract while extending at the same time, which is something that when you think about training abs, you don't really think about doing. You think about doing crunches and stuff, right? You think about doing crunches, you think about doing, leg raises and stuff. But remember, your abs and your core is like a girdle around your lower back. It's to support. If you look at your skeleton, all you have from your rib cage to your hips is just your spinal column. So you need, all that muscle surrounding it to stabilize it and to help it move. And extension is part of that movement. All right. So, God damn it. So the next one we're gonna do is reverse crunch. Oh, and something else I want to say about the dead bug. I showed you a conventional version of a dead bug. So when people say dead bug, they're usually doing that contralateral. They're usually doing like left arm and right leg at the same time, right leg, left arm at the same time. However, you can do one limb at a time. So if you just want to go like left leg, right leg, left arm, right arm, You can do it like that as well. That'll probably be a lot easier. You know, if the two-armed version is too hard for you, you can always start with one and work your way up. All right, so the next one I'm gonna show you is reverse crunch. So even though this is a crunch, there's an extension. There's a dog dick in my face. There's an extension aspect to it as well. Okay, so you're gonna start in the same position with your posterior tilt. With your posterior tilt and your knees up. Your arms are just going to go wherever's comfortable. So I would say putting them on the ground is a good bet, because you can irradiate into the ground and create stability. So you can really dig those hands into the ground, and then you're just going to extend as far as you can without losing your tilt. As far as you can without losing your tilt. Okay. You can keep your knees bent. If you want to turn it into a leg raise, that's the advanced version. It's also considered a different exercise, but it's basically the same. If you extend your legs and then drop them like that, it's considered just a leg lift or a leg raise. That's pretty much it for that. You can also, on this one, and this is something I didn't really mention on the dead bug, is when you're making this posterior tilt, not only are you tilting your pelvis, but you're also tilting your upper body as well, okay? Because again, your core attaches your lower body to your upper body. So in order to get full engagement of your core, you're not only going to tilt that pelvis, but you're going to sort of crunch your upper body, your upper body, just a little bit as well. Okay? So the bottoms of those shoulder blades should be touching the ground. That's ideal. I mean, if you can't get them completely off the ground, that's fine. But that should be the end goal, is to get it to where basically, if you look at it, bottom of shoulder blade to like top of the tailbone, that's basically your core. So end goal is to be able to posterior tilt into having that whole just core being what's contacting the ground. All right, so we did dead bug, we did reverse crunch. Now we're going to do a one leg drop. Do it this way. I'm gonna kick you in the face, bro. You better look out. Oh. Say, bro. Oh, I'm sorry, Frederick. So you're gonna get like this, posterior tilt with legs straight, and you're just gonna drop one. You're gonna drop it, lift it, drop it, lift it. So you can alternate. I would recommend that you alternate, or you can just do all of them on one side before going to the other side. Same principle here. Same principle here. Keep that posterior tilt. If you start to feel that you're losing it, go ahead and come out of the rep, bring your legs back, reestablish your pelvic tilt, and then you can go into the next rep. And again, you can turn this into just a straight up leg lift if you want, by going from one leg at a time to both legs. That's an advanced version. And now I'm going to show you glute bridge and a hip thrust. So glute bridge, we'll start from the same position as you did with the reverse crunch. And this is also, I have this listed under your legs exercises, but this is also a core exercise. You'll definitely feel this burning up your core whenever you do it. So you're gonna lie down here like you were for the reverse crunch. Hands in the ground. Tripod stance with your feet. So I'm digging those toes and those heels into the ground, and then you're going to posterior tilt and raise up like that. So let me come up just a little bit. You're going to posterior tilt and raise. Alright, now sometimes when people do this at the gym, you'll see them do whatever they can to get their pelvis as high as they can. So what they'll do is they will anterior tilt their pelvis, number one. And what they'll also do, I'm gonna go let Frederick inside. What they'll also do is they'll also use momentum to get their pelvis up. They're not using their muscles, or at least they're not using the intended muscles to do the job. So what's happening is, instead of using their glutes, instead of using the deep muscles in their core like their transverse abdominis, they're using their hip flexors to make the movement go up and down. They're using their hip flexors and their lower back. And overdeveloped hip flexors and overdeveloped lower back muscles is exactly what happens when you sit all day. And those are two big contributing factors to bad posture and to low back pain and all that stuff. So I'm going to move over here now to show you the hip thrust, which is basically the same thing as the glute bridge, except your back is elevated. All right, so I got a bench behind me. I'm gonna put my back on the bench. You can do this with a bed. You can do it with a chair that you maybe push up against the wall. If you have a bench at home, great. We have a piano bench that I use for stuff. Like, I mean, anything you can make work. So you're gonna put your arms where they're comfortable at. If you want to, I try to keep mine up here, but you can put your elbows back here if you want. You're gonna do your tripod stance. You're gonna do your tripod stance. You're gonna do your pelvic tilt. You're gonna raise up just like that. Okay, same principles apply to this one as to the previous exercise, the hip thrust. You may not be able to go up very far. Don't worry about it. As long as you can feel your glutes working, as long as you can feel yourself maintaining that pelvic tilt, you're good. That's what you're trying to develop. The range of motion will come with time, the more that you work this movement pattern. This is a more difficult version of the previous exercise. So the hip thrust that I showed you out there is going to be easier. The glute bridge that I showed you back there is going to be easier than the hip thrust that I just showed you on the bench. Okay, so you may find that based on the way that your glutes are or whatever, that you can't even really do a hip thrust to start out with. That's fine. Working glute bridges will get you to that point. All right.